most cherished painting, a vibrant depiction of the village market, alive with color and movement. Kofi held a golden pocket watch, a family heirloom that symbolized his ties to his lineage. The weight of their sacrifices hung heavy in the air. Nanaya stood at the base of the tree, her face illuminated by the flickering light of a clay lantern. "The time has come," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "The ancestors are watching. Are you ready?" Edeora nodded, her heart pounding. "We are ready." Kofi squeezed her hand. Together, the elders began to chant, their voices rising and falling in a rhythm that seemed to echo through the night. Nanaya motioned for Edeora and Kofi to step forward. "Place your offerings at the base of the tree," she instructed, "and speak from your hearts." Edeora knelt, carefully placing her painting against the tree's roots. "This is my heart," she whispered, her voice trembling. "My art, my passion, my connection to my people. I offer it to the ancestors, to Adisa and Kwame, and to the love that binds us all." Kofi placed the pocket watch beside the painting. "This is my past," he said, his voice strong but filled with emotion. "My family's legacy, their expectations, and the weight of their name. I offer it to the ancestors, to break the cycle and honor the love that Edeora and I share." The chanting grew louder, the air around them seeming to shimmer with energy. Nanaya stepped forward, holding a bowl of water mixed with herbs. "The ancestors have heard you," she said, her voice carrying over the chanting. "Now, you must drink this and seal your commitment." Edeora and Kofi each took a sip from the bowl, the bitter taste of the herbs lingering on their tongues. As they did, a warm breeze swept through the branches of the baobab tree, carrying with it the faint sound of whispers. The elders' chanting reached a crescendo, and for a moment the world seemed to stand still. Then, as suddenly as it began, the chanting stopped. The air grew still, and the whispers faded into silence. Nanaya smiled, her eyes filled with tears. "The curse is lifted," she said softly. "Your love has broken the cycle." Edeora felt a wave of relief and joy wash over her. She turned to Kofi, her eyes filled with tears. "We did it." Kofi pulled her into an embrace, his voice filled with emotion. "Together, we did it." As they stood under the baobab tree, the moonlight casting a soft glow around them, Edeora felt a sense of peace she had never known before. The weight of the curse was gone, replaced by the promise of a future filled with love and possibility. Here we are, the final scene in part 1 of Edeora and Kofi's journey. A moment of triumph, renewal, and a brand new beginning. After everything they've faced, their love has not only broken a curse but has inspired a village. Let's witness how they step into their future together in Scene 6. A new beginning. The village was alive with celebration. Word of the ritual's success had spread quickly, and the people of Nkola gathered under the baobab tree to honor Edeora and Kofi. The air was filled with the sound of drums, laughter, and the aroma of roasted meat and freshly baked plantains. Colorful fabrics hung from the trees, and children danced in the moonlight, their joy infectious. Edeora stood at the edge of the crowd, watching the festivities with a smile. She felt lighter, as if a weight she hadn't fully realized she was carrying had been lifted. Kofi approached her, his face glowing with happiness. "It's over," he said, taking her hand. "We are free." Edeora nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude. "We are. But it's not just about us anymore. This is for everyone, for Adisa, for Kwame, and for all the love stories that came before us." Kofi's eyes softened. "You're amazing, you know that. You've given so much, and yet you're still thinking of others." Edeora blushed, looking down at their intertwined hands. "I couldn't have done it without you. You gave up so much, too." Kofi shook his head. "I didn't give up anything. I gained everything. You, Edeora, are my future." As they stood together, Nanaya approached, her face radiant with pride. You've done well, she said, her voice warm. The ancestors are pleased. Your love has not only broken the curse but also brought new life to this village. Edeora smiled. Thank you, Nanaya, for everything. Nanaya placed a hand on Adeora's cheek. You are strong, my child. Never forget that. The celebration continued late into the night, with music, dancing, and storytelling. Edeora and Kofi joined in, their laughter blending with the sounds of the village. For the first time in what felt like forever, Edeora felt truly at peace. As the moon reached its zenith, the elders called for silence. One of them, a man with a voice like thunder, stepped forward. Tonight, we honor Edeora and Kofi, he said, his words carrying across the crowd. Their love has not only freed them but also reminded us of the power of unity, sacrifice, and faith. Let their story be a beacon for us all. The crowd erupted into cheers, and Edeora felt tears prick her eyes. Kofi squeezed her hand, his own eyes glistening. This is just the beginning, he whispered. Our story is just starting. Edeora nodded, her heart full. And I can't wait to see where it takes us. As the celebration wound down, Edeora and Kofi found themselves back at the baobab tree. The moonlight filtered through its branches, casting a soft glow on the offering still resting at its base. Edeora knelt, touching the painting she had sacrificed. Thank you, she whispered, her voice barely audible. For guiding us, for believing in us. Kofi knelt beside her, his hand resting on the pocket watch. And thank you for showing us the way forward. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the past and the promise of the future hanging in the air. Then, hand in hand, they stood and walked back toward the village, ready to embrace whatever came next. As the night faded into a new dawn, Edeora and Kofi found themselves not just free from the curse but free to build a future together. The past was behind them, and a new chapter awaited. But before we part ways, I want to ask you, what does it take to break a cycle of hurt and start anew? Is love enough to heal all wounds, or do we need more? Share your thoughts in the chat, and don't forget, part 2 of this story is coming soon, where the journey continues and even greater challenges await. Until then, remember sometimes, the most difficult paths lead to the brightest futures. Stay tuned, and thank you for being a part of this incredible journey with us. I can't wait to see you in the next part. Don't forget to hit that follow button, so you don't miss part 2. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my very first live stream here on my channel. I'm so excited to have you join me today. Whether you're here for the adventure, the mystery, or the love story, you're in for a treat. In this space, we'll explore incredible tales from all around, and today, we're starting off with something truly special. Today's story is called The Curse of the Baobab Tree, a forbidden love story. Set in the vibrant village of Nkola, it tells the tale of Edeora, a young artist, and Kofi, a wealthy businessman, whose love blossoms in the face of family curses and societal barriers. Are you ready to dive into this magical world of love, destiny, and ancient mysteries? Let's begin. It all starts with a chance encounter at the bustling market in Nkola. Edeora, the gifted artist, is painting a beautiful mural, capturing the vibrant energy of the market. But as fate would have it, Kofi, a wealthy businessman with no interest in art, steps in, accidentally ruining her masterpiece. What begins as a clash of words sparks a connection that will change their lives forever. It was just another day at the market, and the sun hung low over Nkola, casting golden hues across the bustling market. The air was thick with the scent of ripe mangoes, roasted plantains, and the earthy aroma of handmade crafts. Edeora dipped her brush into a pot of crimson paint, adding the final strokes to her mural. "Watch where you're going." A man in a tailored suit stood before her, his phone pressed to his ear. He had knocked over her paint can, spilling blue pigment across her mural. Adeora's eyes narrowed. "You ruined it." Kofi ended his call and sighed. "I'll pay for the damages." "How much?" "This isn't about money," she snapped. "This is my art. My heart." He hesitated, struck by her passion. "I'm sorry. Let me make it up to you. I'm Kofi, by the way." "Edeora," she said reluctantly. Over the next few weeks, Kofi commissioned Edeora to paint a mural at his tech company's headquarters. As they worked together, their connection deepened. Kofi's family, one of the wealthiest in Nkola, disapproved of Edeora. "She's not one of us," his mother said coldly. "You have a duty to this family." Meanwhile, Edeora struggled with her own doubts. "I'm just a market girl," she told her best friend, Efla. "What could a man like Kofi see in me?" One evening, while visiting Kofi's family estate, Edeora stumbled upon an old painting in the attic. It depicted a woman who looked eerily like her, standing under a baobab tree. Kofi's grandmother, Nanaya, found her there. "That's Adisa," she said softly. "She was your ancestor." And she loved Kofi's ancestor, Kwame. Nanaya revealed the family curse generations ago. Kwame had been forced to abandon Adisa due to societal pressures. Heartbroken, Adisa had placed a curse on the family, condemning them to a cycle of unfulfilled love. The curse can only be broken if two souls truly love each other and are willing to sacrifice everything, Nanaya explained. Determined to break the curse, Edeora and Kofi sought guidance from the village elders. They were told to perform a ritual at the sacred baobab tree, where Adisa and Kwame had once pledged their love. The ritual required them to offer something precious. Edeora sacrificed her most cherished painting, while Kofi renounced his family's wealth. As they stood hand in hand under the ancient tree, the elders chanted, and the air seemed to shimmer with energy. When the ritual ended, Nanaya smiled. "The curse is lifted." Kofi's family, moved by their sacrifice, accepted Edeora. Together, they hosted an art exhibition in the market where they had first met, symbolizing the harmony of their worlds. As the sun set over Nkola, Edeora and Kofi stood before her mural, now restored and more vibrant than ever. "We did it," she whispered. "We did," he replied, kissing her hand. "And our love will echo through time, just like the baobab tree." And now, as the days go by, we move into a new chapter of Edeora and Kofi's journey. Picture it, an entirely new setting. No longer the vibrant, bustling market, but a sleek, modern world that seems far removed from the one Edeora knows so well. Let's step into scene 2, the commission. Over the next few weeks, Kofi commissioned Edeora to paint a mural at his tech company's headquarters. The building, a sleek glass structure, stood in stark contrast to the vibrant market where Edeora usually worked. As she painted, employees stopped to admire her work, drawn to the vivid colors and powerful imagery. The mural depicted scenes of African life, farmers tending to their fields, children playing in the streets, and elders sharing stories under the baobab tree. It was a celebration of culture, resilience, and community. The market was a symphony of life. The air was thick with the scent of ripe mangoes, roasted plantains, and the earthy aroma of handmade crafts. Vendors called out to passers-by, their voices blending with the rhythmic beats of traditional drums. Edeora's store was a riot of color, with paintings of village life, intricate beadwork, and hand-woven baskets. She loved the market, It was where she felt most alive, surrounded by the sights, sounds, and smells of her heritage. Kofi's tech company, on the other hand, was a world away. The building's glass walls reflected the sky, and the lobby was a sleek, minimalist space with polished floors and modern art. Edeora felt out of place at first, her paint-stained hands and colorful attire a stark contrast to the employees in their tailored suits. But as she worked on the mural, she began to feel at home. The employees, drawn to her work, would stop to ask about the stories behind her paintings. Edeora would smile and tell them about the farmers, the children, and the elders, the heart and soul of our community. One afternoon, as they took a break from painting, Kofi asked, "Why do you paint?" Edeora smiled. "It's how I tell our stories. The ones that aren't in books or on TV. The ones that matter." Kofi nodded thoughtfully. "Your work is powerful. It speaks to people. It speaks to you?" She teased. "More than you know," he admitted. "I've never met anyone like you, Edeora. You see the world in a way I can't even imagine." Edeora blushed, looking down at her paint-stained hands. "I'm just..." Kofi stepped closer, his voice soft. "And yet, it's you who's teaching me about the world." Their connection deepened with each passing day. Kofi found himself enchanted by Edeora's stories of her village and her dreams of showcasing African art to the world. Edeora was drawn to Kofi's quiet determination and the vulnerability he hid behind his polished exterior. But their love was not without challenges. Kofi's family, one of the wealthiest in Kola, disapproved of Edeora. "She's not one of us," his mother said coldly during a family dinner. "You have a duty to this family." Kofi's father, a stern man with a voice like thunder, added, "You'll marry someone from our circle. That's final." Kofi clenched his fist under the table but said nothing. Later, he confided in Edeora. "They don't understand us. But I won't let them tear us apart." Edeora sighed. "I'm just a market girl. What could a man like you see in me?" "Everything," he replied, taking her hand. "Status." Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of polished wood and expensive perfume. Portraits of stern-faced ancestors lined the walls, their eyes seeming to follow Edeora as she walked through the grand hallway. The dinner table was set with fine china and crystal glasses, the silverware gleaming under the chandelier's light. Kofi's parents sat at either end of the table, their expressions unreadable. His mother, a tall woman with sharp features and an even sharper tongue, was the first to speak. "So, Edeora," she began, her voice dripping with condescension, "Kofi tells us you're an artist." Edeora forced a smile, her hands gripping the edge of her chair. "Yes, I paint murals. It's how I share our stories." "Stories?" Kofi's father interjected, his this resonating like thunder. What stories could a market girl possibly have to tell? Kofi's jaw tightened. Edeora's work is incredible. She's showcasing our culture in ways no one else can. His mother's lips curled into a cold smile. "Culture? Is that what you call it? Kofi, you have a duty to this family. You can't throw away your future on some village girl." Edeora's heart sank, but she held her head high. "I may be from the village, but my work speaks for itself. It's a celebration of who we are." Kofi's father slammed his hand on the table, making the glasses tremble. "Enough. Kofi, you will marry someone from our circle. That's final." Kofi stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "I won't let you dictate my life. Edeora is the woman I love." His mother's eyes narrowed. "If you choose her, you lose everything. The family fortune, your position, your future. Is she worth that?" Kofi's voice was steady but filled with emotion. "She's worth more than all of it." The room fell silent, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Edeora stood, her voice trembling but resolute. "I may not have your wealth or status, but I have my art, my pride, and my love for Kofi. That's enough for me. Kofi's mother scoffed. Love won't pay the bills, dear. But if you're so determined to ruin my son's life, don't expect us to stand by and watch. As they left the estate, Edeora felt a mix of anger and sadness. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to cause so much trouble. Kofi took her hand, his grip firm. You're not the problem. They are. I won't let them tear us apart. Edeora looked into his eyes, seeing the determination and love that had drawn her to him in the first place. What if they're right? What if I'm not enough? Kofi pulled her into an embrace. You're everything to me, and together, we'll prove them wrong. How do you feel about Edeora and Kofi's love story so far? Is it a love worth fighting for, or is the curse too strong to break? What would you sacrifice for love? Would you be willing to give up something precious to break a curse that has plagued your family for generations? As the weight of the family disapproval looms over Edeora and Kofi, a new discovery awaits in the shadows of the past. This time, it's in the attic, a place where the stories of their ancestors come to light. Let's dive into scene 4 titled The Ancestral Painting. The attic of Kofi's family estate was a dusty, dimly lit space filled with relics of the past. Cobwebs hung from the rafters, and the air smelled of aged wood and forgotten memories. Edeora had wandered there by accident, drawn by a faint glimmer of light filtering through a cracked window. As her eyes adjusted to the gloom, she noticed an old painting leaning against a stack of wooden crates. The painting was large, its colors faded but still vibrant enough to tell a story. It depicted a woman standing under a baobab tree, her face serene yet filled with longing. Edeora gasped. The woman looked exactly like her. The resemblance was uncanny, from the curve of her jaw to the way her hands rested gently on her hips. The baobab tree in the painting was the same one Edeora often painted in her murals, its branches stretching toward the sky like protective arms. That's Adisa, a soft voice said behind her. Edeora turned to see Nanaya, Kofi's grandmother, standing in the doorway. The elderly woman's face was lined with wisdom, her eyes sharp yet kind. She stepped into the attic, her cane tapping softly against the wooden floor. Adisa, Edeora repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. Nanaya nodded, her gaze fixed on the painting. She was your ancestor. And she loved Kofi's ancestor, Kwame. Edeora's heart raced as she stared at the painting. What happened to them? Nanaya sighed, her voice heavy with sorrow. Society tore them apart. Kwame was forced to marry someone from his social class, leaving Adisa heartbroken. In her grief, she placed a curse on the family, condemning them to a cycle of unfulfilled love. Edeora's hands trembled as she reached out to touch the painting. A curse. But why? Because love, when denied, can turn into something powerful. Nanaya explained. Adisa's pain was so great that it bound their fates together. Now, every generation of our family is doomed to repeat their story unless the curse is broken. Edeora felt a shiver run down her spine. How do we break it? Nanaya's eyes softened. It requires great sacrifice. Two souls must prove their love is stronger than the forces that seek to tear them apart. They must perform a ritual at the sacred baobab tree, offering something precious to the ancestors. Edeora's mind raced. What kind of sacrifice? Something that means everything to you, Nanaya replied. For Adisa, it was her freedom. For you and Kofi, it may be different. Edeora looked back at the painting, her heart heavy with the weight of the curse. Why are you telling me this? Nanaya placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Because I see the same love in you and Kofi that Adisa and Kwame once shared. You have the power to break the cycle, but it won't be easy. Edeora's eyes filled with tears. What if we fail? Nanaya smiled, her voice filled with quiet strength. Then their story will continue to echo through time. But if you succeed, their love, and yours, will finally be free. As Edeora left the attic, the painting seemed to watch her, its eyes filled with hope and sorrow. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but she also knew she couldn't turn back. For Kofi, for Adisa, and for herself, she would face whatever challenges lay ahead. Before we continue, I want to hear from you, my amazing viewers. Imagine you were in Edeora and Kofi's shoes, standing under the sacred baobab tree, ready to break a family curse. What would you offer to prove your love? What's the one thing in your life that would symbolize everything you fought for? Let me know in the chat. And now, with the curse on the line, we find Edeora and Kofi standing together beneath the sacred baobab tree. This is where love and sacrifice meet under the full moon, where their commitment is tested in a ritual that has echoed through generations. Let's move into scene 5. The ritual at the baobab tree. The sacred baobab tree stood at the edge of the village, its massive trunk and sprawling branches a testament to centuries of history. Under the light of the full moon, the tree seemed to glow, its bark etched with symbols and offerings left by generations of villagers. The air was thick with the scent of burning sage and the faint hum of chanting from the elders gathered nearby. Edeora and Kofi approached the tree, their footsteps silent on the soft earth. Edeora carried her most cherished painting, a vibrant depiction of the village market, alive with color and movement. Kofi held a golden pocket watch, a family heirloom that symbolized his ties to his lineage. The weight of their sacrifices hung heavy in the air. Nanaya stood at the base of the tree, her face illuminated by the flickering light of a clay lantern. "The time has come," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "The ancestors are watching. Are you ready?" Edeora nodded, her heart pounding. "We are ready." Kofi squeezed her hand. Together, the elders began to chant, their voices rising and falling in a rhythm that seemed to echo through the night. Nanaya motioned for Edeora and Kofi to step forward. "Place your offerings at the base of the tree," she instructed, "and speak from your heart." Edeora knelt, carefully placing her painting against the tree's roots. "This is my heart," she whispered, her voice trembling. "My art, my passion, my connection to my people. I offer it to the ancestors, to Adisa and Kwame, and to the love that binds us all." Kofi placed the pocket watch beside the painting. "This is my past," he said, his voice strong but filled with emotion. "My family's legacy, their expectations, and the weight of their name. I offer it to the ancestors